Sophia woke up to the soft glow of morning light spilling through her bedroom window, brushing her face with warmth. It was one of those rare quiet mornings when the world seemed to pause for a moment, offering a brief escape from life's usual chaos. She stretched inside, feeling the calm before the day fully began. Her small apartment smelled faintly of coffee and the lingering scent of yesterday's flowers, a comfort that made her feel grounded. She slipped into her slippers and padded to the kitchen, her mind wandering to the little things she enjoyed. In life's her favorite mug, the stack of books waiting on her shelf, and the rare moments when she could simply be alone without interruptions. Today, however, was not going to be just another ordinary morning. Her nephew Leo had come over unexpectedly, and his energy filled the apartment immediately. He was a lively child, no older than 9, with messy hair that always seemed to defy combs, and an infectious grin that could turn any frown upside down. Sophia had always adored him, and while his presence could sometimes be overwhelming, she cherished the moments they spent together. Leo had a mischievous streak that kept her on her toes, but she loved seeing the world through his curious eyes. Sophia poured herself a cup of coffee, letting the rich aroma calm her jittery nerves. She planned to check her messages quickly before diving into her day, just a few quick taps to see if anything important had come through overnight. She had been thinking of sending a message herself, a message that carried a private, delicate confession, words she had held back for weeks because she wasn't sure how they would be received. Sophia's heart fluttered slightly at the thought, a mix of nervousness and anticipation. She picked up her phone carefully, typing slowly, making sure each word reflected exactly what she felt. Leo, curious as always, noticed her concentration. "What are you doing, Aunt Sophia?" he asked, peering over her shoulder. His tone was innocent but insistent, and she laughed softly, brushing a lock of hair from her face. "Just checking a few messages, Leo. Nothing you need to worry about." Leo, however, was undeterred. "Can I see?" he asked, eyes wide and sparkling with curiosity. Sophia hesitated for a brief moment. She trusted him. Of course, he was her nephew, but she also knew how mischievous he could be. Still, she decided to hand him the phone for just a second. "Fine," she said, but only for a moment. Leo's small fingers wrapped around the phone, his face lighting up as he scrolled through the screen. "Look at this," he exclaimed, pointing at a funny meme. Sophia chuckled, momentarily distracted by his excitement. She turned toward the kitchen to grab a snack. Thinking she had a few moments before the phone returned to her hands, it was in that brief, seemingly harmless moment that everything changed. The phone buzzed unexpectedly. Sophia frowned, glancing back at the screen. A message had been sent, not by her, not intentionally, but from her device. Her heart sank as she realized what had happened. Leo, in his playful curiosity, had accidentally hit send on the message she had been drafting to someone very important in her life, someone she had been quietly drawn to for months. The words she had crafted with such care, words filled with vulnerability and longing, were now out in the open, delivered to the person she least expected to reach so soon. Panic surged through her chest. She snatched the phone back from Leo, who looked up at her, confused and slightly worried. "Aunt Sophia, did I do something wrong?" he asked, his voice tinged with concern. Sophia forced a laugh, masking the storm of emotions inside her. "No, Leo, it's okay. It's just a little accident." But the truth was far more complicated than she could admit. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened the message thread. Kay, eyes scanning the words that had been sent. Each sentence carried weight, a raw honesty that she had never shared aloud. Her breath caught when she saw the reply pop up almost immediately. A simple line that nonetheless made her heart race. "I've been waiting for this. Tot, you might never say it." Sophia froze. She stared at the screen, unable to process the sudden shift in reality. The person she had been quietly longing for? The person who had unknowingly captured her heart had responded in a way that confirmed her deepest hopes. Her pulse quickened, and a strange mix of fear and exhilaration filled her. She had imagined this moment countless times in her head, rehearsed it in whispers to herself. But never in her wildest dreams had she imagined it would arrive like this, so sudden, so unexpected, and so completely unplanned. Leo, sensing her tension, tilted his head again. "Aunt Sophia, are you okay?" he asked, his eyes full of genuine concern. She forced herself to smile at him, ruffling his hair as if nothing significant had happened. "Yes, Leo, I'm fine. Just a lot to think about," she said, her voice betraying none of the storm inside. Leo nodded, satisfied with her answer for the moment, and returned to playing with his toy cars, oblivious to the emotional whirlwind he had unintentionally set in motion. Sophia sank onto the couch, her phone clutched tightly in her hands. Her mind raced, jumping from one thought to another. She thought of Adrian, the person on the other end of the message. He had always been kind, attentive, and subtly charming in ways that had never gone unnoticed by her. She remembered the times their hands had brushed accidentally. The way his laughter lingered in her mind long after the moment had passed. The small gestures that had made her heart flutter without her fully understanding why. And now those quiet moments were no longer one-sided. The replies she had received carried promise, anticipation, and a tenderness that made her cheeks flush. It was as if a door she had never dared to open had been unlocked in the most unpredictable way. And the possibilities on the other side seemed endless yet terrifying all at once. Sophia's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of Leo's laughter. From across the room, he had no idea the role he had played, how a single innocent act had shifted the course of her emotions and her life. She couldn't help but smile at him, a bittersweet smile filled with affection and astonishment. The boy had always been a whirlwind, a small force of nature. But today he had been the catalyst for something far larger than either of them could have anticipated. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Should she reply immediately? Should she take a moment to gather her thoughts? Every second she waited felt like an eternity, the weight of what had been sent pressing down on her. She could feel the thrill of anticipation mingled with the fear of vulnerability. It was intoxicating, overwhelming, and entirely new to her. As she finally began to type, 100 scenarios ran through her mind. What if she misinterpreted the message? What if Adrian didn't feel the same way? What if this impulsive, accidental act of her nephew's created complications she couldn't control? Yet beneath all her doubts and fears, there was a spark of hope. A quiet thrill that whispered she had been waiting for this moment longer than she realized. Sophia took a deep breath, her heartbeat echoing in her chest. She could no longer ignore the feelings she had kept hidden, the desires she had carefully concealed from everyone, including herself. The message had forced her hand, leaving her with no choice but to confront her emotions head-on. And as she stared at the glowing screen, she realized that life often demanded risk, even in the smallest and most unexpected forms. Leo, sensing the tension again, wandered over to her side. He leaned against the couch, looking up at her with innocent curiosity. "Are you done thinking, Aunt Sophia?" he asked, tilting his head. She laughed softly, brushing his hair back once more. "Almost, Leo. Just almost." Her eyes returned to the phone. The reply from Adrian still glowed softly, and her chest tightened with a mix of fear, longing, and excitement. She had never felt anything like this before, a sudden collision of her carefully guarded emotions with the unpredictability of life. The apartment, once quiet and safe, now seemed charged with possibility, as if the sunlight streaming through the windows was signaling a new beginning. And in that quiet, suspended moment, Sophia realized something profound. Sometimes life's most significant changes come from the most ordinary accidental message. A child's curiosity, a moment of trust given freely. Everything she had felt, every hesitation and longing had led to this point. And now There was no turning back. Her hands shook slightly as she stared at the phone, knowing that one more step would alter the course of her heart forever. She could either retreat into the comfort of her routines or embrace the vulnerability that promised connection, love, and perhaps heartbreak, but also the thrill of something real, raw, and profoundly human. Sophia exhaled slowly, her mind racing but her heart strangely calm. She had been thrust into the unknown, propelled by forces outside her control, and yet she felt ready to face them. The message was more than words on a screen. It was a bridge to a new reality, one she had longed for without fully realizing it. And as she glanced at Leo, still blissfully unaware of the role he had played, she felt a swell of gratitude. For all his mischief, for all his boundless energy, for all the chaos he brought into her life. He had delivered something no one else could have, a moment that would linger in her memory forever. A turning point in her heart, and the start of a journey she was now ready to embrace. Sophia stared at her phone, her heart still racing from the reply she had received. Then don't hide it anymore. I'm here. We'll figure this out together. The words glowed on the screen, simple yet charged with meaning. She could feel the warmth in her chest, a mixture of excitement and nervousness, the kind that made her palms sweaty and her stomach twist with butterflies. She had spent months hiding her feelings, imagining what it would be like to confess, but never expecting it to happen so suddenly, so unexpectedly. The apartment, once quiet and calm, now felt electric. Every sound, from the ticking clock to the distant hum of traffic outside, seemed louder, sharper, more alive. Leo sat nearby, happily absorbed in his toys, unaware of the storm swirling through Sophia's heart. She watched him for a moment, her lips curling into a small smile. He had no idea how much power he had just wielded, an innocent push, a careless tap. And suddenly her life had shifted in ways she hadn't anticipated. Her fingers trembled slightly as she typed her reply. Each word felt heavy with possibility, each sentence a small surrender of her carefully guarded heart. She wrote slowly at first, savoring the act of revealing her true emotions. I never thought I would tell you this, but I feel the same way. She paused, rereading the message, her chest tight with anticipation. Was it too much? Too soon? Too bold? She shook her head, realizing she had waited long enough. The uncertainty had been more painful than the risk of rejection. The reply came almost instantly, and Sophia felt her heart leap into her throat. I've been hoping you would say that. I felt the same for a long time, but I didn't want to push. Her eyes widened, and a flush spread across her cheeks. She had imagined hearing these words in quiet moments, in whispered confessions, under soft moonlight, never over a phone screen, yet the effect was just as powerful. Her chest ached with relief and longing. She realized she had been holding her breath without knowing it. Sophia sank deeper into the couch, the weight of what had happened pressing down on her. The message was not just a simple exchange of words, it was a turning point, a moment where her private thoughts collided with reality. She thought of Adrian, the person on the other end of the conversation. He had always been there, a steady presence in her life, always kind, always attentive. She had noticed the little things, the way he smiled when she walked into the room, the way he remembered details about her life she hadn't mentioned aloud, the gentle teasing that always made her laugh. She had admired him quietly, from a distance, never daring to cross the line between friendship and something more. And now everything had changed. The barrier that had kept her emotions in check had been shattered. And Sophia felt a rush of vulnerability she had never experienced before. She realized that she had spent so long protecting her heart that she had almost forgotten how it felt to let someone in, to trust them with the deepest parts of herself. The message from Adrian was more than words. It was an invitation, a chance to explore feelings she had buried, to step into something new and uncertain. Leo, sensing her intense focus, climbed onto the couch beside her. Are you okay, Aunt Sophia? he asked, his voice full of genuine concern. She smiled faintly, brushing a hand over his hair. Yes, Leo, I'm fine, just thinking. She didn't want to tell him the truth. How could she explain that his innocent play had triggered something far bigger than either of them could understand? He nodded, satisfied, and returned to his toys. Leaving Sophia alone with her thoughts and the glowing screen in her hands, her mind wandered to the possibilities. What would this mean for her and Adrian? How would their dynamic change? She had always valued their friendship, the comfort of knowing he cared without the pressure of romantic expectations. But now the balance had shifted, and the unknown stretched out before her like an open road, both thrilling and terrifying. Sophia felt a shiver of excitement run down her spine. She had been waiting for a spark like this for so long, and suddenly it was here, undeniable and real. She took a deep breath and decided to let herself feel the moment fully. There was no turning back, not now. She typed another message, this time more freely, her words flowing with the honesty she had kept hidden for so long. I've wondered about this for so long, and now it feels like everything has changed. I don't want to hide anymore, she sent it, feeling a mix of relief and anticipation, her heart pounding with every passing second. The reply came, and this time it carried a warmth that made her cheeks flush and her chest tighten. Then don't hide it. We'll take it one step at a time. I'm here, and I want this as much as you do. Sophia's breath caught. Her heart raced uncontrollably, and she felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. It was more than she had dared hope for, more than she had imagined possible. The barrier between longing and reality had dissolved. Leaving her exposed but exhilarated, she leaned back on the couch, closing her eyes for a moment. The emotional weight of the past months, the quiet yearning she had kept locked away, the endless what-ifs, everything seemed to converge in this instant. She realized how much courage it had taken to send that message, how much bravery it required to acknowledge her own feelings and risk the unknown. And yet, the reward, the potential for connection, made the fear worthwhile. Sophia opened her eyes and glanced at Leo, who was now sprawled across the floor, absorbed in his own world. He had no idea how much influence he had wielded, how his innocent actions had led to this moment of revelation. She felt a swell of gratitude for him, for the laughter, the chaos, and the unpredictability he brought into her life. Sometimes, she thought, the most profound changes came from the smallest, most unexpected actions. Her thoughts returned to Adrian. She imagined him reading her messages, feeling the same flutter of excitement and nervous anticipation that she felt. She pictured their first meeting in person after this digital exchange. The shy smiles, the lingering glances, the electricity in the air that comes from unspoken desire. Her pulse quickened, and she found herself smiling softly, her heart swelling with hope. Sophia knew that the journey ahead would not be simple. There would be moments of doubt, hesitation, and fear. There would be questions about timing, about intentions, about the path they were about to walk together. But for the first time in a long while, she felt ready to face those uncertainties. She felt alive in a way she hadn't in years, as if a hidden part of herself had finally been awakened by the unexpected, accidental catalyst of her nephews. Mischief. She glanced at her phone again, the messages from Adrian still glowing. She realized that this was only the beginning. The real journey was just starting, the journey of understanding, of discovering each other, of navigating the delicate balance between friendship and love. And despite the fear, despite the unknown, Sophia felt an overwhelming sense of joy and anticipation. She had been given a chance, a moment that could change everything. And she was determined to embrace it fully as she sat there, lost in thought. She felt a gentle warmth in her chest, a sense of calm beneath the storm of emotions. She knew that whatever happened next, she had taken the first step. She had allowed herself to feel, to be vulnerable, to hope. And in that hope, she found strength, courage, and a quiet Undeniable thrill. Sophia's eyes fell once more on Leo, who had now curled up beside her, exhausted from play but still radiating his usual energy and joy. She stroked his hair gently, smiling to herself. In an unexpected way, he had given her the push she needed to confront her own heart, to take a risk that could lead to happiness, to love. Sometimes, she thought, life worked in mysterious ways, weaving small moments into life-changing events. With precision and unpredictability, her phone buzzed again, and Sophia felt her heart leap. She glanced at the screen, expecting another message from Adrian, another reassurance that the connection between them was real. The words on the screen were simple but powerful. "Can we meet? I want to see you." Her breath caught, and a thrill ran through her body. This was the moment where words would turn into reality, where anticipation would transform into presence, where the story she had longed for would begin to unfold in front of her. Sophia felt a mix of nervousness and excitement as she prepared to reply. She typed carefully, her fingers shaking slightly. "Yes, I'd like that." She sent the message, then leaned back, closing her eyes for a moment. Her heart was racing, her mind swirling with possibilities, but a smile stretched across her face. She felt alive, exhilarated, and ready for whatever came next. The room seemed to glow with sunlight as Sophia sat there, holding her phone, feeling the weight of what had just happened. She thought of Adrian, of Leo, of the strange, beautiful way life had orchestrated this moment. She realized that sometimes love, hope, and life itself arrived in unexpected ways, carried on the wings of accidents, mischief, and small, seemingly insignificant actions. And in that quiet apartment, filled with sunlight and the soft sounds of a child at play, Sophia felt a sense of peace and anticipation she had never known before. She had stepped into the unknown, taken a leap of faith, and opened her heart. And for the first time in a long time, she knew that whatever happened next, she was ready.